Hello, welcome to Heather Broadbent's online violin studio. In this video, I'll be discussing the metronome. Now, this needs to be your best friend. If you're a musician, the metronome is your best friend. You want it close by at all times, so when you practice, you can just grab it and use it. This metronome here, this actual model, is my favorite type of metronome. It's my favorite kind, my personal favorite. I like it because it's loud. You can hear the clicks at a nice volume. Because if you don't hear the clicks, there's no reason to have the metronome on. So you want to be able to hear it. It has lights up here. When you have it on, it lights up, so you actually have the lights that you can use. So if you're not able to hear it, you can follow the lights, but I prefer to be able to hear it. And then also you can tune your violin, your A string, to this. So if you set it on A, down here, the little dial, turn it on, you should get an A. Okay, so if you have it at the first setting on the 0, that's A440. I like this because you can change the pitch of the A. So it goes up to 441 and 442. Some orchestras tune to 442, and 441, I personally like to tune my violin to 441, but 440 is the most popular A. This goes all the way up to 445, which is pretty sharp, and then back to 440 there. So you can tune your violin to that. And also on this, you have the opportunity to subdivide and have more than one click, and I will talk about that in a second. I first want to demonstrate just how to use a metronome. So we're going to switch this dial to 80. You have on this metronome, it goes from 40, the smallest, to 208. 40 is the slowest, and these are the beats per minute. So if you set it at 60, those are your seconds basically. So I'll set it at 60. Make sure I have it on 60. So that's your seconds. It's like your second hand on the clock. And then, like I said, this one goes up to 208. So that's as fast as this goes. As far as the big beat. Okay, so I am going to set this at 80. 80 is a nice universal speed. So we'll set it at 80, okay? So I'll show you how I'm going to demonstrate this. I chose to actually demonstrate it with the piano instead of with the violin because then I could have one hand on the metronome, one hand playing and talking. It's just a little bit easier. The book that I'm going to play from is one of my favorite technique books for the piano. I love this book. I learned from this book. I taught my dolls this book when I was an itty bitty. I teach my students this book now. It's excellent. I cannot say enough, a dozen a day. So back to the metronome. I'm going to be doing a dozen a day. This is book 1. And I'm just going to be playing the very first one in here called Walking and Running. It's an excellent way to demonstrate the metronome. So here you can see the first 2 measures. I'll actually show it a little closer here so you make sure that you can see. The first 2 measures are quarter notes here, and then we have 1/8 notes, and then we have 16th notes. So, and then the last note here is a whole note. Okay, so you can see that. And this way I can show you how I can demonstrate the quarter notes, the 1/8 notes, the 16th notes, and how it works with the one click. So we're going to set the metronome at 80. We'll turn it on. Okay, I'll just start with the right hand here. Now this is our quarter note, this click. So here we go. These are our quarter notes. So 1 note per click. That's the first 2 measures, okay? Those are quarter notes. Now we're going to move to 1/8 notes here in this third measure. So 2 notes per click because the 1/8 note gets half a beat. So here we go. Ready, go. Okay, now we move into the 16th notes. And in 16th notes, you have 4 16th notes for a quarter note, for a beat. So we're going to put 4 notes to 1 click. So here we go. Ready, go. So there we go. Those are those 16th notes. The last note here is a whole note, so we hold it for 4 beats. And that's how you use a metronome. So you can see that it's extremely helpful to keep you very steady. One other way that will make sure that you're extremely steady is what I mentioned earlier in this video, to subdivide. So we have this set at 80. You can either put it at 160, twice as fast, and have every click be your 8th note. So you could do that, but sometimes it's a little tricky to keep track of where your beat is. So what's really nice about this metronome, and most metronomes have this capability, you set it here, this one to 2, and you get 2 beats. You get the higher pitch, and you get a lower pitch, okay? So if you go back to that 160, you hear that? Those are your 8th notes. Your higher pitch can be your main beat, your lower pitch, whatever's easier for you, but you have 2 clicks now, and now you can keep track of those 8th notes. So here we go. Ready, go. So that makes sure that every note is on the beat when you subdivide, that you're counting exactly right, that in this case every 8th note is being counted. So depending on how slow the piece is, you can subdivide even further, and not just the 8th notes, you can subdivide your 16th notes. And so on this metronome it goes all the way up to 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with that higher pitch. This can also be used in practicing a measure. If you set it at 4 and you're practicing something really difficult and you want to make sure that you're doing it correctly so that every measure starts on the higher pitch and you're in 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, new measure, new measure, new measure. And when you practice like that, it's good to do just one measure at a time, making sure that the new measure starts on that higher pitch, and you look, make sure you did your rhythms correctly, and you ended right with a metronome, then you're ready to move on to the next measure. If you didn't end with that higher pitch, then something was not right in that measure, you need to work it out. So it's extremely helpful. So the metronome is your best friend. Use it all the time. Thank you so much for watching this video, and be sure to watch other videos on onlineviolin.net. Happy practicing with the metronome.